Welcome to Mastery Path Connections. I'm Debra Sofia Magdalene. I'm here in Peru, in Cusco, with Ross Heaven. Ross, you're a shaman, an author, and you've worked with many different plant medicines. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I first came down to Peru in 1998, so that's 14 or 15 years ago now, and began work with ayahuasca in San Pedro and started dieting various plants then. So I think the first one I ever dieted was Acosacha, then Chirisanango, then Guayusa. I think those were the first three, and then Lupuna, the tree. But more recently, I'd say in the last 3 years, I've really kind of stepped up working with plants and dieting plants because I began a long-term San Pedro diet. I really wanted, a pure apprenticeship to San Pedro, and was down in Peru for about a year, I think, really working with that medicine, drinking it an awful lot. But it also presented to me a series of other plants which can be used as magical admixtures to the San Pedro brew, and asked me if I would diet those as well to really have a fuller apprenticeship with San Pedro, so I knew the other medicines that you could mix with it for specific purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with tobacco, ergon sacha, Salvia divinorum was an interesting one that came up, and I worked with that, and various other plants as well. And I continued the diet back at my home in Spain as well, with plants like white rose, rosa blanca, so a whole bunch of them. And the last one is Toei, Datura. I just finished a diet with coca actually here in Cusco.
Mm-hmm.
And Datura was a plant that presented itself to me about 3 years ago as part of this San Pedro diet. But San Pedro said then it should be the last one that I do, because Toei is quite a difficult, sometimes dangerous plant. Datura, you can really get lost in that world.
So Lesley Myburgh, I've just done an interview with Lesley about San Pedro, and she was mentioning about how dangerous Toei is for Caucasian people. That's
what her teacher, Rubin, has said. He writes about this actually in my book, Cactus of Mystery, as well. Mm-hmm. His view is that Westerners are so diseased and so out of touch with natural rhythms that to give them a plant like Datura, which is intensely connective but also can be quite disassociative, just freaks them out, and actually can be very dangerous if you get the dosage wrong. It can kill you because the plant in excessive use is toxic. He won't give the plant either to people from Peru, even indigenous people, if they've lived outside the rainforest for a period of time. So if they've been in Lima or a capital city or somewhere for a few years, he won't give them that either. Other than that, it's fairly commonly used as an admixture to ayahuasca, and I've drunk it in ayahuasca before, so it wouldn't be surprising if Westerners came across it. But it is a difficult plant. I've never dieted it, so I don't know what the effects are going to be like when I begin drinking it next week. But I've drunk it with ayahuasca, and it's like being nagged by your mother for 8 hours, incessantly. It's like, you did this, and you just,
Is it like your conscience talking to you?
No. Like your mother talking to you. Before you've even got a chance to kind of, think about what it is you're supposed to have done and how that happened, the consequences and any amends you need to make, it's like on to the next thing. You did this, you did this. Until like 6 hours later you just go, shut up, Mom, Give me a bit of time here and I'll think about it, but at the moment all I'm hearing is you nagging at me. So, I don't know what to expect when I start drinking it next week.
It was like, when people are thinking about coming out to Peru or Brazil, or wanting to try these plant medicines, where do they start? There's so many options, and how do you know what to do, what's safe?
That's the problem, isn't it? Because it works both ways. People, the kind of standard New Age criticism of ayahuasca tourism, is that you get a lot of hippies coming down there just to tick a box and have an ayahuasca experience and tell their mates about it, and it's corrupting the indigenous tradition. But the flip side of that is that the people in Iquitos or Pucallpa or down in the rainforest are not stupid either. They're not like naive savages. They see the Yankee dollar marching
Oh,
down
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And of course, they begin to cater for that. So instead of getting a real healing ayahuasca ceremony, what you get is a show for the tourists. You know, lots of singing and dancing, and people prancing around with feathers out the bottoms and that kind of thing, and giving you really weak ditch water ayahuasca. And that's okay for some people. They can say they've had the experience, but it's not a healing experience. It's not a true shamanic experience, and it's not a work of integrity. You know?
So how do people find the right people to do this
You
with?
really need somebody who knows the area. Particularly now, I've seen things change in even the last kind of 5 or 6 years. It's getting more and more difficult to find a genuine shaman with genuine integrity who is really doing the work. Many of them are putting on a show for the tourists. And we've also had a trend of kind of Westerners who come down, drink ayahuasca once, think they know everything, then buy a plot of land in the rainforest and open their own ayahuasca centre because they're going to heal the world, you know. The fact that the shamans have been doing this work for 4,000 years doesn't seem to occur to them, you know.
Yeah.
That they could actually learn from somebody, they think they've already got the answers through one cup, you know. So those kind of centres are, by and large, places to avoid, you know, the white-run Western guru
Yeah.
who thinks he's got all the answers that pretty much don't go near them. On the other hand, you know, there are some people, some Westerners I've drunk with, a bit more sensible in outlook to that, who really do have a genuine love of the plants. And it seems to me that, you know, if you've been raised within a jungle tradition which uses ayahuasca, it's kind of commonplace every day for you, it's accepted. But if you've got somebody like Lesley, for instance, you know, who's actually moved here from South Africa, not into her tradition, but into a tradition which really has meaning for her, their approach carries a lot more integrity, and the work that they do has a lot more depth to it, maybe. So, you know, in San Pedro ceremonies, it's fairly standard in Peru, in the more traditional ones, that it would be a nighttime ceremony with pretty weak San Pedro. You know, they tend only to reduce it down and prepare it for 2 to 4 hours as part of these nighttime rituals. And there's a lot of, I don't know, kind of healing showmanship that goes into it. The shaman may give you other potions to drink, tobacco to snort up your nose, and, you know, that kind of stuff. And I've been to those, and it kind of interferes with the effects of the medicine a bit. You're always distracted, you're always doing something, you can't really settle into what the plant is teaching you. And Leslie's approach is different. You know, she brews her San Pedro for maybe 20 hours, so it's strong, and she gives you the medicine and pretty much allows the plant spirit itself to talk to you without interference. So she's not imposing healing on you, you know, distracting you at the wrong kind of moment. And that works better. So, I don't know, in answer to your question, it's a bit of trial and error, but if anybody's coming down to drink ayahuasca in the Iquitos, Pucallpa, rainforest area, I'd just be really... Yeah, do your research. Don't have expectations that all shamans are gurus and saints. They're not. Or that they can save you, or that you can give up your personal responsibility to them and everything will be fine. You know, you've got to take care of yourself. So do your research and be cautious on the ground.
Yeah. You've worked with Salvia as well. What's Salvia, and how's that used? What sort of, you know, just in a nutshell, really?
Okay, well, Salvia is a plant indigenous to Mexico, a particular area of Mexico, Oaxaca. And traditionally it's used in ceremonies where the leaves of this plant, it's part of the mint family, they call it sage, but it's part of the mint family, are chewed in quids, you know, a number of leaves in the mouth, or drunk as a tea. But the modern usage now is to take an extract from the plant material, which is called salvinorin A, and to smoke that. And you need the tiniest amount, just a fingertip of grains of this. And the experience that you will have is like nothing that ayahuasca, San Pedro, LSD, or any other plant or chemical could give you. It's reckoned by some people to be 200 times stronger than LSD, 20 times stronger than DMT. And the effect is to take you to, I'd say literally another dimension, which is as real. You know, it's not like a vision, hallucination, or a trip or anything like that. you will find yourself in an environment that's as real as this. I mean, you and I could be having a Salvia trip right now. We wouldn't know.
Okay.
You know, we would be in this other dimension where something is just a little bit different, maybe. You know, you've got different coloured eyes, for instance, but everything else is the same. So you really wouldn't know. That's the blast-off phase of it. That lasts maybe 10 or 15 minutes, depending on the strength of the extract you smoked. And then after that, there's like maybe 30 minutes or an hour or so of more of a gentle trance-like state. That's when you can ask the questions. That's when you can really kind of interact with the spirits of that world and get some answers. But you better be prepared, you know, because when you first smoke it, it's like, the hell is this? Who am I? Where am I? What the hell's going on? Something like that.
Is it like a healing plant where you can get answers to questions, deep-seated questions that you have?
Yeah, real direct answers as well. You just really need to kind of try and understand the language of Salvia, because it speaks in sort of dream symbols somehow. But once you decode it, yeah, it's instantaneous. And it just said to you, it's very kind of cold, clinical almost, but it just says to you, there's the answer, you know, take it or leave it. This is exactly what you need to do, and it's your choice whether you do it or not, but that's it, you know. And it could be showing you your worst patterns and kind of, you know, the bad things that you've done and why you've created this world and all the consequences and repercussions. And it doesn't mince its words, you know, it just says, well, that's it, that's where you are. But it gives you a choice, you know, it really gives you a choice.
Would you say then that one of the benefits of using plant medicines is to help us raise our consciousness, help us to really learn what lessons we're here to learn in this physical body, in this lifetime? Or is it something else for you?
We have to be really careful with our use of language, you know, words that we kind of throw out there as if we understand what they mean or they have a common meaning. You know, what does it really mean to raise consciousness or to become enlightened? You know, that those words are used a lot, but I don't really know what the standard definition of those things might be. If it's like giving us a good shake-up and teaching us that there's more to this world than we've been taught or conditioned into, then yeah, the plants will definitely do that. But for me, you know, with all these journeys with plants, it's really about getting to the point where you can say honestly, genuinely, I don't know anything. That's the real thing, because we believe that we know so much, you know, and really we don't know anything. Even our scientists, you know, I mean, the whole history of science is one theory surpassing another, which means that, you know, the old theory that we've been using was wrong all along. But the world didn't fall apart, right? The world continued. We don't even need to know anything at all, and we can't know anything, ultimately. But if we can get to that stage where we've emptied our minds of all the kind of, you know, the bullshit theories and the conditioning and stuff, then at least we might start to learn something. But while we think we've got the answers, well, we're not going to bother, and there's no space for new information to go, right?
Yeah, good point.
So I kind of think it's like that it's a process of stripping away all the kind of rubbish that we think we are and we think we know and the answers we believe that we've got, so that we can empty ourselves out and maybe find something useful at the end of that. But if we can, all of us, leave this world with an empty mind rather than one that's filled with junk, you know?
Conditioning.
If there is such a thing as reincarnation, you know, maybe we start off at a better level next time around, you know, because at least we're not so cluttered anymore.
Yeah. Ross, thank you so much. It's been really interesting talking to you, and it's so lovely to have Pussycat here as well.
Deformed cat. Yeah.
Beautiful cat. Good luck with your journey in Mexico.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking time today to talk to me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Say bye-bye, Pussycat.